Run It Back Nation, what is good? Sixers sickos. What is good, man? Good to see you. Good to be back talking to you. Can't wait to hear from you. This show is called Sicko Soundoff, and here's what we're going to do, man. I was at the Sixers Heat game in Philly yesterday, and then, unfortunately, I was also at an Eagles watch party at Chickies and Pete's, and so we took 2 L's in the same day, so I drove an hour and a half to Philly to take 2 L's and drive back home, but it was a fun day for me and my family, so shout out to that. But yeah, we're going to talk about the Sixers Heat game because I was there and I have some notes on the game and I want to talk about it. And then we're going to talk about the Sixers in general, where they're at right now in the season so far and how we feel about them. And I want you to call me and give me your thoughts. This show is mostly going to be your takes in the chat or on the phone line. And we're going back to the phone line because the Discord was boring me. So the phone number is pinned at the top of the chat. All you got to do is call the number. It's also right here. 951-981-7683. And I'll put you on the show. Let's go.
Sixers, why won't you just lose and put me out of my misery? Why do you got to keep doing this to me, bro? Nobody else should touch the ball right here. He shoots it from the logo. Oh, we're going overtime. Tyrese Maxey is a god amongst men.
Welcome back to Run It Back Philly, brought to you by Bright Medical Technology. Before I get into everything I want to say about the game yesterday, the Sixers right now, and how I feel about everything, and take your calls and find out how you feel about everything, this is brought to you by Bright Medical. Bright Medical is a local medical supply company in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And they can help you in a lot of ways. One specific way they can help you is that they offer generic Viagra, Sildenafil, and Cialis Tadalafil, 30 tablets for $40 delivered to your door. This is the lowest cost in the area. The Sixers didn't get up to play a 1 o'clock game yesterday. Don't let that be you. All you need to do is call 215-725-MEDS. That's 215-725-6337. When you call, mention Run It Back Philly, you'll get 10% off your first month's supply. I'm supposed to put this on the screen. There we go. Bright Medical is Pennsylvania's largest medical supply. Owned business right in the heart of Philadelphia, PA, and they are Sixers sickos. And actually, the owner of the company, Howie, has the first comment of the show. They take all calls in-house, no automated call system, and speak 9 languages. The Sixers fell flat. Don't let that be you. Call Bright Medical today. Thank you to Bright Medical for sponsoring the show. And here is Howie with the comment from the game yesterday. Where's my, hold on, producer, you're fired. Howie says, without VJ, that game was boring to watch. He was the exciting player we needed. To be honest, I wanted Con Canepo or Ace Bailey, but VJ is so exciting to watch. Great take. Great take, Howie. And I have some new sound bites I want to play for you guys. Speaking of great takes, and here's one of them.
That's called motherfucker, boy.
Great take, Howie. And I completely agree, man. Like, when we got there, first of all, I didn't even know VJ wasn't playing. I remembered him being listed as questionable, and I didn't think anything of it. And then, getting ready to leave and traveling down to the game, we had to leave early because it's a 1 o'clock game and everything. I get all the way in the arena in my seat, and somebody says to me, "Where's VJ?" And I was like, "Oh, damn. I think you're right. VJ Edgecombe's not playing." And yeah, we didn't realize how much energy and excitement he brings to the team. And honestly, VJ Edgecombe can not only he can change the outcome of a game, he has changed the outcome of games several times this season. And when the Sixers are doing what they did yesterday, where, it's just sputtering out, it's just looking like, the same thing we've seen every game this season, where in the third quarter they get annihilated because they stand around and don't do anything. VJ has been a player that brings that spark when there seems to be no energy in the building, and his ability to turn defense into offense, his fast break ability, of course. So yeah, we missed VJ Edgecombe yesterday, especially in those moments where the Sixers were just stagnant, boring, and couldn't find an answer. We could have used VJ's athleticism and his defense to offense transition game a lot yesterday. So I completely agree with that, man. Here's what we're gonna do, man. I'm gonna read my notes that I took during the game as I was sitting in the Xfinity Mobile Arena and give my thoughts on the game yesterday. We're gonna go to the standings, the NBA standings, and look at where the Sixers are and talk about how we feel about the team, man. I think the first thing I want to say, aside from playing without VJ Edgecombe, is that the Sixers somehow, some way, still have a third quarter problem. And, you know, the real annoying thing about Nick Nurse is that when there's a glaring issue such as that, he doesn't seem to care. He doesn't usually have any comments on it. And he just kind of brushes it under the rug. And here's another game. This time I witnessed it in person where the Sixers come out after halftime and look like they forgot there was a second half of the basketball game. The Miami Heat, to start the second half, went on a 13-0 run. And I'm at a loss for words at this point. I don't know what else to say. How can you be the worst third quarter team in the NBA and come out again, another third quarter, and the other team scores 13 points in a row to your 0? And, you know, ever since I heard from, you know, Raptors fans and other fans that have watched Nick Nurse for a long time, and that this 4-out, 1-in, or 5-out ISO ball offense is actually his strategy. Now I'm really watching it, and now I'm really seeing it, you know, and it just, there has to be a plan B when it's not working. And it happens every game now, especially in the third quarter. They gave up a big run in the second half of the second quarter again, which is like now it's almost like you can see what's happening leading up to the third quarter, and then the third quarter is a disaster. And I think they scored 19 total points in the fourth. The entire second half was just disgusting. But Miami goes on a 13-0 run to start the third quarter. And my question is Nick Nurse going to do something to fix that? I don't know. The other thing I want to say, now I have a lot of positive things to say, I do, because, you know, Norman Powell was cooking us. Pell Larson, bro. Man, I was like, who the hell is Pell Larson? I'm going to be honest with you. I don't watch a lot of Miami Heat games. Never heard of the dude before. Didn't know who he was. He couldn't play any defense, which I thought the Sixers were targeting Pell Larson a lot in that game. I think that was the right thing to do. I remember a time where Maxey got him on a switch and shot a step-back three in the fourth quarter instead of attacking him. Pell Larson is a good offensive player, but he couldn't guard anybody, and we should have been attacking him even more than we were attacking him, you know? Norman Powell was just absolutely shredding us. And how many years is it that the 76ers can't guard, to quote Brett Brown, live ball gods? Live ball gods, that Brett Brown Boston/Australian accent. Live ball gods. That was Norman Powell yesterday. Norman Powell was completely unstoppable. What did he have? 32 points on us. And I think Norman Powell's good, and I think he's been underrated for a long time, and I think it's funny that the Clippers didn't want to pay him, and here he is, has the Miami Heat at, 11-6, and is dropping 32 points on NBA teams, and the Clippers are struggling to win games. But yeah, we had no answer for Norman Powell. I did think the referees who watched the game yesterday and were complaining about the referees. I thought they rewarded flopping way too many times in that game. And maybe it was just because I was in the arena and, the fans kind of think every call is a bad call. But Norman Powell with the kicking his legs out, throwing his arms up and all that stuff when he shoots the ball, dude, I hated every second of it. I think there was 3 fouls on 3-pointers on Norman Powell in that game. He got 9 points at the free throw line by getting fouled on threes, and I thought some of them were just ridiculous calls. Pell Larson in the first half was doing the same thing with the taking charges and diving out of bounds and things, but Pell Larson has to do that because he can't play any defense. I see some people on the call. I'm going to get to you. We were calling for Gordon for 7 years, then sign him when he's cooked. Well, they signed. Are you talking about Eric Gordon? Well, I don't know. They did sign him when he's cooked. You're right. They shouldn't have re-signed him. But you're right about that. We've been calling for Lauri Markkanen for 5 years. Yeah, I think Danny Ainge is just never going to trade Lauri Markkanen. And now the Jazz are looking like they're building something. And Lauri Markkanen is out here dropping 50-some points. There's no reason to trade Lauri Markkanen at this point, I don't think. I think the Jazz continue to build, man. RJ, what up? This team is on the real mid, but Maxey is fun to watch. Yeah, and yesterday, Maxey just couldn't be the hero like he normally is, like he has been almost every game this season so far. Maxey couldn't pull it off, and the Maxey hero ball didn't work. I thought Maxey didn't really touch the ball in the fourth quarter enough, which was odd. You got so much Grimes ball, you got so much Justin Edwards ball, and I didn't think Maxey had the ball in his hands enough in that fourth quarter. But even when he did, like towards the final couple of minutes of the fourth, where he usually pulls something out, he usually does some kind of fourth quarter magic. He just didn't have it. He missed a couple of bad shots in the fourth, and that was kind of it because we didn't have an answer on the other end. From the start of the game, we had no answer for... Damn, what's his name? Ware? Khalil Ware? We had no answer for Khalil Ware, bro. And the Sixers, Andre Drummond's a good rebounder, but he's not an interior defender. And Nick Nurse won't play Janai Broome, which I still don't disagree with entirely because I thought Janai Broome was a horrendous draft pick in the second round when there was guys with size and athleticism there. When you need interior defense and rebounding, you drafted a 6'9.5" center who can't jump and probably can't defend in the NBA, and that's why Nick Nurse hasn't played him yet. But the 76ers got annihilated on the boards, and Andre Drummond had 20-plus rebounds. He had 20 rebounds in 3 quarters. It still didn't matter. Khalil Ware had 9 rebounds in the first quarter. He had 9 rebounds in the first quarter. What does that say about you? And until they get... I don't even know the answer, bro, because is a Dembona gonna change that? We've seen a Dembona this season. He hasn't really changed much. We love his shot blocking ability, but a Dembona hasn't really changed much when he's in the game. And when now that we're playing with Drummond and no other center, you don't even get a Dembona in there. And Nick Nurse goes small ball, and he goes Jabari Walker at center. I mean, this is the same thing as last year with the Gershon Yabusele at center. The guy can't play center. He can't play center. And what do you think is going to happen when you're playing a team that has Khalil Ware and Bam Adebayo, bro? You're going to get destroyed on the rebounds. They got out-rebounded 58-47. It wasn't that as much of a margin as I thought it was, but there was points of the game where they just could not get a rebound, and it always feels like it's the most important parts of the game when the 76ers can't get a rebound. You know what I mean? And points in the paint, 72. The Sixers go into a game with one active center, and they give up 72 points in the paint. Bro, is that a record for one game? That's got to be close, man. 72? I remember when Nick Nurse started Gershon Yabusele at center against Zion Williamson. And we were like, let's just forfeit this game. We know what's going to happen. And Zion and the Pelicans put 68 points in the paint on the Sixers that game. The Miami Heat, 72 points in the paint. That is, and that's the part that sucks about a game like this. You almost shouldn't even watch it. You know, when they have Bam and Khalil Ware, and you have Andre Drummond and nobody else, you kind of know how it's going to go, you know? So it sucks to go into a game and know that and then see the result. The result is exactly that. But that's what happened yesterday. My other thoughts on the game are, I was happy to see Jared McCain continue to ramp up. And there was parts of the game where Jared McCain and Tyrese Maxey had runs together. And I love to see that because, you know, ever since we saw what Jared McCain did last season, we thought the combination of him and Maxey is going to be unstoppable. Jared McCain and Tyrese Maxey had a 9-point run at one point in the game with a Maxey 3 and then Jared McCain 3 and then maybe an and 1 or something like that. But the dynamic of Maxey and McCain on the floor together in this game was fun. But then you ask yourself, is that good enough defensively to win in deep into the playoffs? Especially if we want Jared McCain to become like a starter, maybe who plays alongside Maxey most of the time. Is that too bad defensively to play deep into the playoffs? And I got to be honest, I know Jared McCain's coming off a knee surgery, and I know he wasn't known as a great defender. He's 6'3". But he looks very bad defensively so far since coming back. And you know, that might have to do with conditioning. That might have to do with lateral movement and things as he gets back to playing after that knee surgery. But I was happy to see McCain in this game and McCain and Maxey together, and I'm happy to see that moving forward. The other thing is Paul George is still on a minutes restriction and didn't play in the fourth quarter, you know? And Paul George is very, very good. And the Sixers need to get him off a minutes restriction as soon as possible. Because he's, again, one of the only players who can consistently take pressure off of Tyrese Maxey. And it's nice to have Paul George back, but how long are we going to do this minutes restriction for? So that's why I am feeling good about the 76ers right now. They're 9-7. Let's go to the standings. And then I'm going to start to take your calls, man. Don't forget, get in on the calls, man. The number is 951-981-7683. I want to hear from you. A couple people waiting to call. I see you. I would love for a couple other people to jump in there. Yeah, we got to get Paul George off this minutes restriction. But I am feeling pretty good about the Sixers at 9-7 because, well, first of all, last year they were absolutely horrendous and could not beat anybody in the entire NBA, and they started this season 5-20. So them being 9-7 is a lot better than what they looked like last season. So we got to be happy about that. And then we have to, take into account that they're still getting guys back. And I know we say that every year, and I know every season we're ramping up, but they are still getting guys back. And as Jared McCain continues to ramp up and play better alongside Tyrese Maxey and play better in these lineups, and as Paul George comes off a minutes restriction, I think the Sixers can be pretty damn good with how Tyrese Maxey is playing. Even without Joel Embiid. That's I know that sounds crazy, but that's what I'm saying. Because Tyrese Maxey's playing at an MVP level. He's playing at a historic level so far. He's averaging 32 and 8. He's the first player to average, he's a fastest player to something 200 points and 500 assists, whatever, to 200 points and 100 assists since Wilt Chamberlain. I should have looked that stat up, but he's doing things historically number-wise so far this season. All he needs is a couple guys to take the pressure off, and Paul George and Jared McCain can be those guys. Quentin Grimes is that guy sometimes, but sometimes he's really bad. And then the Sixers are going to need to figure out interior defense and rebounding at some point in this season. Maybe at the trade deadline they figure that out. I don't know. I think the last thing I want to say about the game yesterday is that Justin Edwards is very bad at defending NBA players in one-on-one situations. And Nick Nurse doesn't seem to realize that and just leaves him out there on an island. Justin Edwards moves his feet slower than Andre Drummond. I'm dead serious. And I don't know what I don't know. I like Justin Edwards offensively, and he hit a big shot in the fourth quarter again 2 games ago. But defensively, man, we can't keep leaving Justin Edwards on an island. He can't move his feet. Dudes just run right past him, bro. And I don't want to call it an effort thing, but a lot of times you see him just kind of lean over and swat at the ball, right, without moving. Come on, Justin, move your feet, man. But when you see him getting cooked one-on-one like that, get him out of the damn game, right? I think there was a segment of the game where I yelled that from the stands. Justin got cooked like 3 times in a row defensively, and then he airballed a 3 on the other side, and I was like, get him out of the game! I don't know, man. I like Edwards, but there's some guys, I think, with the Sixers, they have a good story. They come out undrafted, and there's this underdog story and all that stuff. But eventually they kind of start to show you why they were undrafted, you know? Like Ricky Council, for example, you know, and Justin Edwards is better than him at basketball, like skill-wise. But I don't know, like, you know, it's an undrafted player, and he's out there getting just annihilated defensively. And Nick Nurse did not do anything to change it. He left him out there on an island. But I just wanted to say, at 9-7, considering that the Sixers don't have Paul George off a minutes restriction, Jared McCain's still on his way back, and I liked what he looked like yesterday, and Joel Embiid is just never going to play basketball again. The Sixers being 9-7 is very good, if you ask me. And Chicago came back down to earth. Remember, Chicago started the season 5-0, and everybody's like, oh, the Bulls! Oh, the Bulls! Oh, Josh Giddey and the Bulls are taking over the NBA. Josh Giddey's the new face of the NBA. 9-7. Bulls came back down to earth a little bit. Detroit is 14-2. Toronto, I feel like isn't 12-5, and Toronto Raptors fans got mad at me when I said that when we played them. I don't feel like Toronto's a 12-5 team. They have a lot of depth, but I'm not believing in them. I think it's Detroit and Cleveland will remain at the top. Miami. I think the last thing I'm going to say before I take your calls is that what you saw yesterday was a good coach versus a not. Was a great coach versus an coach, you know? I'm not going to say good coach versus bad coach, but you saw a great coach versus a meh coach yesterday. Eric Spoelstra coached circles around Nick Nurse yesterday. And look at the guys he's doing it again. Eric Spoelstra took 5 undrafted players to the NBA Finals. This guy's got Jaime Jaquez playing like a star NBA player. This guy's got Norman Powell out here playing like prime Damian Lillard. This guy has a dude named Pell Larson on the floor. Eric Spoelstra coached circles around Nick Nurse yesterday, and it's really unbelievable what Eric Spoelstra can do with like a lackluster roster on paper. And so I'm never counting out the Miami Heat from staying at the top of the Eastern Conference. But Nick Nurse got out coached, and that's just the facts. Let's go to the calls, man. Let's go to the calls. Let's take some calls. Let's see what happens, man. Now here's the rules, man. I need you to call with a take, okay? I need you to call the show. Let me bring my phone number back up here. I need you to call the show, 951-981-7683. I need you to give an opinion or ask a question that you want an answer to, you know what I mean, and get to the point. Sometimes people call and they put us all to sleep, and I'm not trying to be rude, and I'm not trying to call anybody out, but I got to bang on you if that happens because we got to keep the energy moving. Okay, let's go to the calls, man. Now I'm using this call service that I used to use, so hopefully I remember how to do this. Caller on the line. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
How you doing, man? My name's Dylan. I'm calling from New York. Always a big fan of the show. Thanks for taking my call.
Dylan, what's up, man? Thanks for calling, bro. I appreciate it.
Of course, man. So I'll get right to it. I guess my concern, I want to feel good, right? But my concern is, what is our starting lineup? How many lineups have we even tried this year so far? It's like 9. And, last year, of course, you probably know this, the record for the most amount of different lineups in a season, 52. So I guess I'm worried. I'm like, how can I feel good when I don't really know what our starting 5 is, what the dynamic is, how they perform with each other? That's kind of my concern right now that I kind of want to, vent out a bit.
Yeah, I feel you with that. I mean, the Sixers had the record last year with 52 different starting lineups, you're saying?
Yeah, 52. Before that was the Grizzlies, I think, the year before for 50.
That is so bad, man. And that's just a result of a team that's always injured. They're always good. And why, though, A lot of these injuries, I'm like every team gets injured. The NBA is full of injuries, but then when you point out the fact that they have 52 different starting lineups last year, the Sixers seem to be more injured than everybody else all the time, and that's just going to be the result of it, man. Especially with Joel Embiid just never playing or playing, once to twice a month, you're always going to have either a Dembona or Andre Drummond starting. He kind of switches them out. Jared McCain coming back. He hasn't been in the starting lineup. VJ was out yesterday. It's definitely a concern because at what point do you get a starting lineup that you can stick with, but you just have to stay healthy for that to happen. I don't think
also just understand the chemistry between whoever the starting 5 is. Knowing what that's going to look like, because I feel, we keep saying Embiid as long as he stays healthy through the playoffs, but at a certain point, you can't be shaking the rust off when the playoffs come. You got to be, I feel like, already in the zone to be handling that. Same with Paul George. Same with all of our guys who have been injured. I want to see consistency on some level, even like 10 games of who our starting 5 is, so I can at least get a better picture of like, okay, this is what we actually look like when we're healthy. Even if we're doing Embiid, that we keep him on the side for when he needs to heal up. I just want to see some of those starting 5 so I can at least be like, yeah, I feel good when we come to the playoffs that we're going to be ready.
No, you made some excellent points, man. Thank you so much for calling the show, brother. I appreciate it.
Of course, man. Thanks so much. Appreciate your show, and keep doing your thing, man.
Thanks, man. You make great points, and I completely agree with your point about the chemistry thing, because every single season, Sixers fans say, and I think it's casual Sixers fans, guys that aren't psychos like us, and people that aren't really watching every game, and they're hardcore Eagles fans, and they watch the Sixers when the Sixers are good, and when the Sixers aren't good, they don't turn the game on. Every season they say this, bro, calm down. Everybody knows they're saving Joel for the playoffs. And I completely agree with your point because, first of all, you got to make the playoffs. That's what I was saying last season when they tried to tell me this stuff. I'm like, they can't beat any NBA teams at all. They can't make the playoffs. That was last season. This season, I think they can make the playoffs, but probably right around where they're at, 8th seed or a play-in team. Probably right around where they're at, unless they really get Jared McCain and Paul George consistently. And I agree with what you're saying. Even if Joel Embiid is healthy, when the playoffs come around, you have to have built chemistry there. And any team is going to struggle chemistry-wise with having that many different lineups. Let alone a team that has a guy like Joel Embiid, who is a very specific style of player, and you have to play the game a certain way when he's on the floor. So that's another problem they come across with this, because young athletic team that runs up and down the floor, that a transition team, run and gun, right? The try to score before the defense gets set style of team. And then, boom, you got Joel Embiid back, who takes 17 minutes to get to the other side of the floor on both ends, offensively and defensively, and then you got to work him into your offense and try to. Yeah, it sounds like it's. It sounds like it's too much for it to work out, man, and I completely agree with your concerns. But again, if healthy, like basically what you said is this team's not healthy. They have 52 starting lineups last year, and this year they have inconsistent lineups again, and You can't wait to see the whole team on the floor. They saw the whole team on the floor how many times last year? 4? How many times was Joel Embiid, Paul George, and Tyrese Maxey on the floor together last season? I think it was 11 games. It's just if they can't get them on the floor, this is what it's going to be. And then everybody's going to get fired at the end of the season. I would hope so, but that's what I thought last season, and that didn't happen. Let's go back to the phone lines, man. Thank you guys so much for calling the show. What's going on? Where are you calling from? What's your name?
I'm calling from Phoenix, Arizona via Philadelphia.
All right, man. Thank you so much for calling, man. What you got, man? Yo.
I'm calling from Phoenix,
yeah, man.
Arizona by way of Philadelphia.
Thanks for calling, brother. What do you want to say?
Well, I'm thinking about roster construction. I'm thinking about roster construction and
yeah. We got it. Roster construction. What do you think about it? You there?
Yes, I'm here. I'm worried about Gordon and Lowry being on the roster, and why we have Gordon.
Yeah.
Why do we have Gordon and Lowry on the roster? Yes.
Yeah, I think we're having a little bit of a delay here, man. I apologize for that, but thank you for calling, man. And I completely agree they shouldn't be on the roster at all. I don't know the answer to that. No, I don't think anybody knows the answer to that. And when you look at, when they signed them, I have reaction videos on here screaming my face off because I thought it was absolutely ridiculous to bring Kyle Lowry back. The guy's been retired for 3 years. I thought it was embarrassing. I know they brought Eric Gordon back because it saved them money in the long run. Dude's internet connection is trash. That makes no sense. This is a phone line.
We're synced up now. Sorry, bro.
No, it's okay, man. I thought bringing Eric Gordon back was a money thing. He had a player option, and they got him to sign for less, basically, by having him waive the player option and sign him to a 1-year contract. So that was just a Josh Harris trying to save a couple extra $100K, which is ridiculous also. But if they didn't do that, he was going to take the player option anyway. If they cared about winning and they cared about roster depth, they would have just paid him the player option and waived him or something, right? But they didn't do that.
You're right.
They re-signed Kyle Lowry. And yeah, when you look at the issues and you say we need this, or this, and then you see two guys on the end of the bench that shouldn't even be there. Yeah, why are they there? Because how are you playing without a backup center? You're playing Andre Drummond and nobody right now. It would be nice to have.
Well, again, I'm synced up now. Sorry about that, my friend.
It's all good, man.
We have a lot of these guys. We got Walker and we got Broom on the bench, and we're not really getting, roster construction wise. Are these guys getting enough minutes to figure out if they're the right people to fit, right, or not? And I'm going to give you a succinct take. Gordon Lowry roster, we have 2 spots that could be with other guys. And no offense, we don't really want to talk about the coaching stuff because I'm going to keep it succinct, but it starts making you wonder when there's all this talent out there and we have all these random lineups, why are we tinkering all the time as well with the roster construction?
Yeah.
In the real game time.
I don't know, man. I don't know. And again, when you run into the issue they're running into now where your backup center's hurt and your starting center's hurt, but your starting center's always hurt, and you're playing with Andre Drummond and no backup center at all, and you're giving up 72 points in the paint, where are the athletic 7-footers at, to throw in there, and you see other teams, like a guy that always comes to my mind is Jericho Sims, for example. He's not great. He's not somebody anybody's going to write home about, but he's gigantic and he can jump high. Why don't we have some of those guys?
Rim protection. You're talking about rim protection. That's what I was talking about the game the other night. Our big power forwards are not doing the rim protection when they don't have the big center in there. We just need, again, we don't want to talk about coaching right now. We can get into that if you want to. But yeah, there's obviously coaching issues. Big time. Yeah.
It is coaching issues, but I completely agree with you about the Gordon and Lowry thing. That is an issue too, because I don't know why. How do you end up playing one center and going small ball because you ran out of centers in the beginning of the season? How did you not have this prepared? And they drafted Janai Broom, and he can't go.
Here's my end point. Okay, let me end around this, and I'll get off the phone with you.
Yeah, go ahead.
My big concern about the roster construction is because of those 2 spots being vacant, we overall do not have enough talent. If you actually compare our talent against other teams, we don't have the overall talent, period. At the high end, yes, Maxey, we match. But overall, no. We don't, I guess, as they call it, depth. I don't know. But really, we don't have and it's because of roster. We can't have 2 dead weight guys and be competing in this year where it's going to be running up and down the court, shooting threes, right? We know what it looks like this year.
Yeah, but isn't that also just because Joel Embiid and Paul George and these guys are out of the lineup all the time? If they
can't run the floor. No offense, if they can't run the floor, they're not going to do any good to any team this year. This is the year of running the floor, shooting the threes, and pace. It just is. Like I was telling you, this is the fastest pace since 89, 90. I don't know why that year was the fastest pace.
Wow,
but they're telling us, yeah. I watch a lot of ball. I love basketball.
I wonder why.
Dude.
That's a good.
I love my Sixers.
I love that you said that. I wonder why 89-90 was the fastest pace, because that was right at the first couple years of Michael Jordan's career when the Detroit Pistons.
I'm not going to lie. I wasn't watching those years. They're the years I wasn't watching. There were certain periods where I didn't watch basketball in my life, and that was one of them.
It might.
So I don't know.
It might have had to do with Jordan flying up and down the floor and guys trying to keep up with that. But yeah, I agree with you on the pace thing. Anyway, I've been saying, a lot of this season already that Joel, his first couple of games especially, because he's so slow on the court now, because he doesn't look anything like he used to look. So even when they play him, I think he's too slow, especially defensively. But
yeah, I'm not a hater. I love Embiid. I think healthy, he's one of the top all-time players ever.
Absolutely.
And I never will hate on Embiid. Effort, I don't do that. He doesn't want to. He's not effort guy. All that stuff is trash.
Yeah. But I want to ask you then.
Unfortunately, times change, and it's the Maxey. They also, again, another take. Sorry, buddy.
No, go ahead.
You can hang up me anytime.
No, go ahead, man.
VJ needs to be on the bench, not all the time, but matchup-wise, know the coaching well. They're going to run him into the ground too early. They're going to do a fucking, sorry, cursed a little bit.
All good.
Derrick Rose on his ass, or whatever. You can't put too much on a rookie ever. Too many games, too many minutes, too much physicality.
I agree with you, man. Hey,
it's too much.
Thank you so much for calling the show,
man. The starter.
Thank you so much for calling the show, man. Great takes, man. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
All right, man. Be in touch soon. I love you. Be good.
Absolutely.
Love the show.
Later. Dude, amazing call, dude. We gotta give him a funk flex, man.
That's cool, motherfucker, boy.
We gotta give him a funk flex, man. That was a great call, man. He made a lot of great points. And I wanted to ask him, there was a little bit of delay because he was calling from Phoenix, Arizona, but I wanted to ask him if he believes that Joel Embiid can get back to that, because he said, when healthy, Joel Embiid is one of the greatest, and I agree with that also, but I don't ever see Joel Embiid getting back to that. I think it's kind of over, 31 years old, 4 knee surgeries, recovering from left knee surgery on the left knee for 2 years, and now he's out for 6 games with a right knee soreness, I think it's over, man. And his 3-year extension didn't even kick in yet, by the way, which pays him $64, $66, and $69 million until 2029. But I wanted to ask him, do you believe Joel Embiid can get back to that? I really honestly think, and I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again, anytime I clip this out and post it on Instagram or TikTok, there's the Joel Embiid stan base that, just calls me the dumbest person alive. But I think this is a very common take, Again, there's the internet and there's real life. When I go outside and talk to people, I was in Philly yesterday, but we were watching the Eagles game. We weren't really talking about the Sixers after the game. But anytime I go out somewhere and talk to people about the Sixers, they all say the same thing. They say they need to move on from Joel Embiid. This is Maxey's team. They're young, they're playing fast, and they need to move on. I feel like everybody kind of agrees with that. When I say it, I get berated on the internet because the internet's a weird place. But again, if I had to guess, the 76ers are going to kind of do the same thing this year where they never really have all the guys on the floor and the writing's going to be on the wall in front of their face. Stop hoping and praying. It's over. And I don't know how you get off the Embiid contract anyway unless he agrees to retire from basketball. But in a perfect world, they say Tyrese Maxey's at this level. Oh, we need shooters, we need rebounders, and we need to build the damn thing around Tyrese Maxey, and we need rim protection. But they're still holding onto this Joel 29. So you're stuck between what's the right thing to do and what can you actually do contract-wise, and also what does an owner really want to do? What does this owner really want to do? I think one of the everlasting battles in professional sports is actually trying to win versus just consistently making a profit, and the fan base is always on this side, like, why don't they put together a winning team and they need to trade this guy so that they can, like the Bucks need to trade Giannis, for example, or whoever it was, Dame out of Portland, and they always wait way too long to trade him. Why? Because he's making them a ton of money. And the owners don't care about winning. An owner doesn't want to rebuild. An owner doesn't want to... The Bucks owner doesn't want to trade Giannis to rebuild and have a bad team for 5 years. That loses him a lot of money. Fans want to do that because fans want to build a winning team. Owners want to sell tickets as many years in a row as possible. So the same thing goes with Josh Harris. Now, I think the Joel Embiid thing is past its window. The fans in Philly are over it. They're not buying tickets because of Joel Embiid any floor. He's never on the damn floor. But it feels like the Sixers ownership is the same way, where way too late. They'll trade a guy way too late or try to get rid of a guy way too late after they bled him dry for all the ticket sales and jersey sales they could possibly get. That's a little rant that I went on, I guess. Shout out to Great Bogus with a $5 super chat. He says the Sixers always have so many injuries. The pregame introductions take longer than the actual game, mostly because they're reading off the injury report. Why are they reading the injury report on the pregame introductions? Are you talking about the pregame show on NBC Sports Philly? Or are you talking about when they're announcing the play? Why are they reading an injury report when they're doing pregame introductions? I don't understand that part. But yeah, the 76ers always have injuries. And it's another year of that. Tyrese Maxey's 25 years old and he's playing at an MVP level. And I don't want the Sixers to do the same thing they did with Embiid, which is take it for granted and just assume he's going to be around forever. That was the biggest issue with the Joel Embiid era in Philly, is that they just kept fucking around. Oh, we can't trade Tobias with 2 years left on his contract. We're just going to wait till it's over, and then we'll try to get a small forward next to Embiid that actually rebounds and is a willing three-point shooter. We don't want to sell Tobias on for pennies on the dollar, so we're gonna sit. Remember this? Like it's a punt season. We're punting seasons with the Joel Embiid in his prime. You gotta understand how small of a window an NBA player's prime is. Dude, you got 5 years. That's it. Especially a 7-footer with knee issues. I'm surprised Joel Embiid made it as far as he did. But Tyrese Maxey's 25 right now. You got 7 years. He's going to be in his prime, barring any major injury, until he's 32. If he's an anomaly like a Steph Curry or somebody, you might have 10 or 12 years. If he's still at a high level when he's 37, like Steph Curry is or like Kevin Durant is. That's very rare. But they sat around with Joel Embiid. They were like, oh, we know he's an MVP. We know he's great, but we just need a couple more years to build the right roster. And by the time they feel like they built the right roster, he's cooked. You know? That's why Tyrese Maxey being 25 right now, they need to build this team around him immediately, as quick as possible. As quick as possible. So nobody wanted Tobias at that number. I mean, I agree with that, but there was some teams that, you know, they could have thrown him into the Ben Simmons trade with Indiana. Not Indiana, the Kings for Halliburton. There was a couple things that were out there that they just didn't get done. And when you heard not just the Tobias Harris amount, because the last year on his contract is when he should have been traded, because you can trade an expiring contract. Do you remember what Daryl Morey was asking for Tobias Harris? Daryl Morey was good friends with Tobias Harris, and he let that get in the way. He didn't want to throw his buddy out and just trade him for anything because he's a nice guy. And that's what happened. And they did the same thing to AI. Absolutely, they did. They need to do like OKC. Oh, man. Oh, man. Lawrence. What OKC did was they tanked. Okay? And they tanked and they made the right moves. All right. They hit on draft picks. Well, first of all, they made a major trade for a young up-and-coming star who became the best player in the NBA, at least last year, right? The MVP, championship, all that. SGA. That's number one. That's what they did first. 76ers, during the process, did they package something together and make a trade like that? No. None. They drafted Joel Embiid. OKC then hit on Jalen Williams, draft pick. They hit on the Chet Holmgren draft pick. And they made all the right signings. Isaiah Hartenstein, Alex Caruso. I think they drafted Lou Dort. They just did everything right. The Sixers did the same thing that OKC did. Okay? Except they did everything wrong. All right? They had 4 top draft picks. The Sixers had 4 top draft picks in 5 years. They missed on all of them. Nerlens Noel, Jahlil Okafor, Ben Simmons, Markelle Fultz. They missed on every single one except for Joel Embiid. And then, did they sign the right guys? Did they make the right trades? No. So, to say the Sixers need to do what OKC did, they tried that. But they are not competent enough to do what OKC did. So, if we try it again, we're on the hook for another 13 years of tanking, rebuilding, and doing everything wrong again. It takes a long time to do what OKC did, man. It takes 10 years. It takes 10 years to do what OKC did. They traded Paul George in what year? They traded Paul George in what year, man? It takes 10 years to do what OKC did. And the Sixers already tried that. And they messed up every single time. Oh, man, bro. Holy hell. I think that's all I got, man. Thank you guys so much for hanging out. Thank you for calling the phone line. Thank you for jumping in the chat and giving me your takes. I'm not too negative about the Sixers right now. They're 9-7. Last year they were terrible. So I'm happy they're 9-7. They're exciting to watch. Tyrese Maxey is so much fun to watch this year. VJ Edgecombe is fun to watch so far. They have some glaring issues. If they get once the Paul George minute restriction is lifted and Jared McCain is back to himself, I think they're going to be very good, even without Joel Embiid. And then, maybe Joel Embiid plays consistently, but it doesn't seem like that's going to happen. I'll see you guys tomorrow for Sixers Magic right here, live. Are we playing the Magic again, dude? The only teams we play. The only teams do. We just play the Magic every night. We play the Magic again, dude. Why? We play the Magic, the Celtics, and the Pistons every night. I'll see you right here. 8 o'clock, Sixers Magic. And we'll continue this roller coaster ride that is being a Sixers sicko.